everyone. Welcome to the Mile High Sports Symposium. I am JT Matthews, JT Matthews01 on X, and I am with the doctor, Nicholas Manning, at DR_in Manning on X as well. Doc, how are you doing? After some technical difficulties, we are up and running.
Yeah, we're good now. It was my fault. I thought it was your fault.
Yeah, it happens. You know, that's what happens when you can't hear each other and we're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Yeah, the privilege of not experiencing that. And when I do, it freaks out. Otherwise, I'm good. Worst weather day, which I kind of like it. I need a little bit of the briskness. So we're good. Good. How are you?
Good. It's just the weather's here just in time for Halloween, which is pretty typical for Colorado. So kids will probably be trick-or-treating with their jackets on.
Yeah, for sure. But you know what? Worse things to do, I guess.
For sure.
First world problems.
Yep. We got a number of teams to talk about. All of your Colorado-based teams are pretty much playing right now. We've got college football, we've got hockey, we've got basketball, we've got NFL football.
I mean, it's phenomenal right now. It's absolutely wonderful.
Yep. It's a perfect time of year. So let's just jump into it. Let's start with the CU Buffs. They have been playing well, outside of their loss from Kansas State, which was still a very competitive game. They have 2 losses on the season. They are already bowl eligible, coming off of a win against Cincinnati last week, Arizona the week previous. We missed a few weeks, so we're catching up on everything. But how are you feeling about CU and the job that Coach Prime is doing? Because it seems like a lot of people seem to think Prime is not going to be a good head coach or is not a football guy, and he's kind of bucking that narrative right now.
Yeah, he's slapping it in the face. Let's see, clear transparency here. Huge Prime guy.
Yep.
Have been, always will be. Not to say though, my man isn't eccentric. I'm not gonna say that there's not some. When you're that great at something, it's hard to It's hard to be humble. I think there's just not many people that are that elite at a thing that they get paid a lot of money to do, because most of us can't do it, and then are willing to listen to Paul Feinbaum and schmucks like us. What they're doing is pretty tremendous though, and I don't. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. Hold on, real quick. Pat Shurmur has done a good job. Pat Shurmur has done a good job, man. They've been able to, to get. I think we've talked about Will Shepherd from Vanderbilt was an all SEC caliber player to come here and be like the 3rd or 4th guy, and he came here for NFL coaching. I haven't heard Will Shepherd complain once. I haven't heard him go on IG and be like free will, like Jordan Addison does.
Yeah.
Things like that, which if you want to tell me what did that Athlon report say, like that it was essentially, it was like every black stereotype there was, like drugs, guns, and money at CU and Boulder.
Yeah.
Like if that's the kind of culture they got, you don't have guys buying in to come here to be the 4th receiver, unless they really feel like the staff will get their back. And to Pat Shurmur's credit, one, they started to run the ball. They protected Shedeur much more. And when you have 2 Heisman-worthy candidates on your team, you look at like USC with Leinart and Reggie Bush. You look at the Alabama teams, things like that. I go back as like Stafford and Nosha Moreno, right? Like those are those are teams that are just phenomenal in nature. This team is it, right? So Travis Hunter won Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, is the first player in Big 12 history, which it's been 25, 30 years of Big 12-ish. I think I got 10 years of the Big 8 in my existence, but he's the first one to ever win offense and defense, which goes to show really since Charles Woodson, there hasn't been a player I think that's been featured on both sides of the ball to this degree. Miles Jack, was had a couple rushing touchdowns as a running back. But to our credit, I think to the league's credit, Miles Jack was a good player. Miles Jack is not a potential Hall of Famer that, Travis Hunter has the skill set on either side of the ball to be Pro Bowl caliber on both sides, which is just outstanding. And he's playing 99% of the snaps. I think that's the part that that hasn't been done really since, leather helmets and all that.
Right.
So it's great, and it's just, I'm a CU fan. I'm all things Colorado. I want all of our Colorado teams to win all the time. CU is definitely kind of the secondary school, but I don't live and breathe Boulder. But when that team is good, I mean, it's the palatable buzz. I mean, the fact that we're talking about it first and goes to show how much better football is or sports are in this state when, the marquee schools are good, right? So they produce some good basketball teams. The women's team is good up in Boulder. CSU has a strong men's basketball program. The women are improving. Both football teams have a winning record. We talked about that first time this late in a season.
Yeah.
Broncos and both CU and CSU have had a winning record, I think, in like almost a decade. Just goes to show a ton, and then we feel it, right? Like, just sports are more exciting. Even you, Ohio State guy, and all that stuff. When the sports in state are quality, it raises the willingness to talk about it. It's kind of hard to have football conversations when you're an Ohio State guy, right? With your team has been really, really good, and everyone around you is not an Ohio State guy, and they're like, yeah,
exactly.
We don't really watch college football anymore because, right, like the luster comes off. If your team's terrible, it's really hard to invest in the sport. And so that's been great, and I think they control their own destiny. If they went out, mind you, I guess they don't control it. You'll need a domino or two to fall, but make that be their problem, right? So if you're CU, and the fact that they're doing it kind of quietly for a program that's as loud as it has been, I dig it, right? Like, get loud after every game, like Travis Hunter, backflips and all that stuff. Do the Shador. I love it. Like, all the things. They do that after each win, then get a little quiet during the week. Win, get loud, quiet for the rest of the week. So I like it, and they've been dominant the last few games. That, the Kansas State, they kind of let them off the hook, like Denny Green said, right? We let them off. We knew who they were. We let them off the hook. If they don't do that, I wonder though, like, if they don't lose that game, they don't get their face kicked in like against Nebraska. Are they the same team? Are they hungry? Are they humble? I don't know. And it's kind of like those two losses might have made them one of the best teams in the country. CU, the year that they beat Nebraska really big, they were a 2-loss team, I think, at that time. And, those losses, when they happened, didn't speak to the, that team that they were by the end of the season. I think this team's a little bit the same. They get Texas Tech next and then Utah. Both of those games, Texas Tech, I think, will be the tougher of the two, which is interesting. We talked about that before the season.
Right.
Utah was a top program. Cam Rising has gotten hurt for, like, my man just got to quit. His knees are probably worse than mine. He's 7 years in a program. He's been hurt like 5 of them. And then they got Kansas, which we thought was going to be a really, really good team. Still a good team, but not the top 25 ranked team that they were. And Oklahoma State, same thing. So you do got some games on the road. You got 2 games on the road, 2 games at home. Hopefully you chalk up the 2 home games as dubs. And then you got to go to Texas Tech and you got to play Kansas. And then maybe you get in the Big 12 championship game. That's all you can do. But either way, it's been super fun. And watching Travis Hunter play is a treat, to be honest with you. He is just so good. It clouds how good Shador has been. Shador, I think, was 25 of 30 for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he is the secondary story.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah,
Crazy.
323, 2 touchdowns, 25-30. It's wild.
Wild, right? That's video game. That's like if we're playing, on rookie mode, and it's pretty tremendous. That's an hour up the road that this is happening. It's so good we can't afford to go.
Right.
But yeah, anything from your thoughts? I mean, it's they creeped in the top 25 the first time this year.
Yeah.
At 23, kind of hoping they didn't. Like keep that chip, keep it on there. But what's your thoughts? Especially, you've watched good college football, being an Ohio State fan for a while.
Sure.
So, when you're watching this team or when you've been able to see it, how does it, not necessarily how does it match up to Ohio State football, but I mean, a little bit, right? So Ohio State, Houston first round receivers or NFL caliber receivers. This group at CU, absolutely phenomenal. Their defensive backs are probably one of the best, if not the best group in the country, according to PFF. And so some NFL talent, which at CU, first time, long time. It happens maybe every 5 years at CU where you get some quality players. Hopefully this is a trend. But what's your thoughts, knowing that you're an expert in good college football?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said is kind of the thing that stands out is that there's legitimate NFL talent on this roster, and not just one or two players. There's a number of guys that'll be in the league at some point. Following this year and beyond. I think Shepard is one. I think he's got NFL build. He's going to be a receiver, even if it's in a deeper round. I think LaJohntay Wester's the same way. He's got elite speed. Horn, same thing, elite trait. Someone may take a flyer on a guy like that as just someone who can get out there and get in space. Shedeur obviously is my QB1, a lot of people's QB1 going into the draft, at least as of right now. And what's kind of been considered a weaker draft class, but I think,
you've heard that before, right? And
then, I know. But that, I mean,
Cam Ward are going to go in the top 5, right? Like,
yeah.
It's a weak class, and then you have,
for sure. And then Travis Hunter is arguably the best player in the country when he's healthy, and it's on both sides of the ball. And Ohio State doesn't have a player like that. They have good receivers. They always have good receivers. They have guys that'll be first round draft picks, but Travis Hunter is going to get drafted above them.
Will Demps was a 5-star running back / safety, right? Like that guy is, and even he, like they wouldn't even let him, right? I mean, but not like a ton of players want to go do 100% snaps on both sides of the ball, right? Like I would like to get a drink of water,
Yeah, even if they could, what are the chances that
right, how good,
they would be allowed to?
Are you beating out someone else that's coming to that program that's playing that 100% of the time, right? Like, are you the best option? I think that's a good point. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. Like it's just fun. There's a lot of buzz around the program right now. I think, and not just because of Prime. They really brought these kids together. They're playing. They're putting together a good product. There are some fumbles here and there. Still has a hard time staying clean in the pocket just because that O-line is not the strength of their team.
He holds the ball for a long time, trying to make big chunk plays. Definitely played better, I think, over the last few. When you get 5-star, right, left tackle, best offensive lineman in the country last year as a freshman, and he's starting. Those are really good signs that you're going to be able to recruit at a high level, which was our question that you and I talked about like early on. Is like, is Prime going to stay? Because flash in the pan is great, but if they get 6-6 and he bails, CU probably is going to fall back to the. Can't even say Indiana right now. Indiana,
I know, right?
Northwestern,
right? Rutgers, Maryland,
Rutgers. So it's exactly. I mean, lower end of that, but still, I think as a a fan in Colorado, I would take Rutgers' success 10 times over what CU's had over the last 20 years, right? Like, I mean, Northwestern for sure. So, yeah, like you said, it's exciting. You got potentially QB1 in the draft. You have the best all-around football player in a while. not just
Mhm.
this season, but in a while. And they're maximizing it. We'll talk about the Nuggets and Avs here a little bit, where you have potentially the best players in the world on your team. And are you maximizing it out of it? And right now this team is, and that's
Right.
phenomenal to see.
Yeah, and it's Colorado sports are better when CU is a good team, to be honest, and it's just more enjoyable. College football is more fun, and I think that the change to the playoffs has helped. This gives other teams a chance to get in there and see what they have and stack up against those elite programs. And I'm curious to see. I know a lot of times we see those teams sneak in and then just kind of lay an egg. Washington last year, is a team like that where you're excited. They look like world beaters. TCU, same thing. But it's fun to give them an opportunity. And every once in a while, you get an Appalachian State that beats a Michigan, and the world explodes. The college football world explodes, and it's when you put it in a playoff format, it just ups the pressure even more. So it'll be fun to see if CU can remain undefeated, if they get a chance to work their way into that conversation and potentially a playoff berth. But right now, enjoy it while we have it. I don't know how long it's going to last. They'll be shipping off a lot of NFL talent, especially your two best players in Shedeur and Travis Hunter. So enjoy it while we can.
Yeah, and I mean, and this season's gonna, they already have 5 stars thinking about flipping, right? As a few were at this last game. If they finish strong, why wouldn't you want to come to see you, right? You get NFL coaching. Coach Prime shown that he's been able to market players. They went from 1 win and the bottom 3, at least, college programs in the nation to, at minimum, they're going to play at a pretty nice bowl, the way that they're playing and the way that they'll finish. I mean, just saying, Louis Vuitton, baby, Louis Vuitton. But yeah, it's exciting. Whether or not you're a CU fan or even a CSU fan with how they're playing, the world's way better when those teams are good. And sadly, it's like that for college basketball. When Duke's good, college basketball is better because it gives you someone to hate. That's good. You can't hate them if they're, it's like the Raiders. Like I don't even hate the Raiders anymore. They're just they're not good enough to hate.
They haven't been good enough to hate for sure.
For sure.
Well, let's transition to the Colorado Avalanche. You hinted at them earlier. Avalanche are 5-5, just lost a game last night, I think, or the night before to Chicago.
No,
not a good team right now. Okay.
You're right.
But, this is a team that got off to an 0-3 start.
0-4.
Really struck. 0-4 start, yeah.
They were.
Goaltending was bad. I don't want to say average even. It was just bad.
No, it was not. Yep. No, it wasn't good. Some of the games were competitive. Yeah.
Yeah, and so to see them kind of turn it around a little bit is promising, especially with the amount of injuries they have on the roster currently still. Devon Taves is back, or Devon Taves was back. He was one that we talked about being injured early, but he's a big addition back to that first line defensive group with Cale Makar. But you're still missing a number of guys, and some young guys are stepping up. Ross Colton is maybe leading the team in goals, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, but then of course, he's out. So they lost.
Yeah, now he's out.
It's like, come on! If this team could be full, like at some point, it's Val.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, come on! Like, just give us a little bit of time with all the bullets.
Right. So it has an opposite feel right now to the Nuggets, and we'll get to the Nuggets as well. Yeah. But this team feels like they're treading water until they get healthy, and then they're going to be a team to be reckoned with. As long as their goaltending is average to above average, they should be a competitive team. And in any series, when you get down to the playoffs, they should be a competitive team. And it's exciting. It's a little hard to stomach right now with the amount of goals that they've given up, especially they gave Georgiev the start again last game. He let 5 by. I don't know that there's going to be much of a competition after this. I think Annanen's going to get the call until unless he struggles. So it's an interesting place for this team to be, but I think that the outlook is positive. And I think if you're looking for a silver lining, is these young guys are getting to play. The guys that are bottom line guys, bottom six guys are kind of getting an opportunity to get thrust into the top two lines. And a lot of them are taking advantage.
Kovalenko, you and I talked about early on, is playing pretty well. I'm going to butcher his name. Help me out again. Kiviranta.
Kiviranta.
Yeah. I mean, he's seventh on the team in points, and Malinsky is playing some.
Yeah, Malinsky's been fun.
Even hockey as a defenseman has 3 points early. So it's nice when you bet on the young guys and they start producing, and that's a good feel, which we talked about. To sustain success, Colorado's got to start bringing in some young guys just financially. That you can't keep going and buying veteran depth and talent. If you're going to pay Mikko, if you're going to pay, you're already paying McKinnon and McCarr, and so that's something to note. Yeah, goals against average. Gorgie has 4.62 per game.
Yikes.
And Annin has 2.48, right? And it's like looking at starting pitchers when the Rockies play versus the Dodgers, right? Like who's the earliest used. Gorgie has not been good. This last game he wasn't as bad. It didn't help him out as much, but he ton of soft goals. I mean, when your save percentage is just above 800, not ideal. You got an offense that can score a lot of goals when you have them, but if not, then you got to play some big boy hockey, and you got to help steal some games. Right now, Gorgie's not that dude, and I do think it's the last year of his deal. They need to do what's best for them and not spare feelings. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think it'll be interesting to see if they make any moves as the season goes on. Even if it's just for someone's backup that has some potential. I think it'll be interesting to see how that team shakes out. But it's been a wild ride thus far. But I think trending, as long as health improves, then they're trending the right direction. On the other foot, let's talk about the Nuggets.
I think they got to. I think they have to make a move. They got to make a move goalie. Sorry,
I think so too.
Yeah, and it's good, but track record. The reason why he's not starting and hasn't been for the last couple of years is because they didn't think he was good enough. And with this team and what they're capable of doing, especially when Val and Gabe touch that ice, you got to go for it. And I think you can't do that with Gorgie, even as your backup. To be honest, he gets in. He's 1-4 right now, and that one win was not because of him. So hopefully they do, but we'll see it. It's pretty early in the season. Let some stuff play out. Let him get his confidence back, maybe. But I would be shocked if they didn't make a move. If Gorgie isn't significantly better by the time the break comes around, they'll be getting a goalie.
Yeah, and just you mentioned Gabe and Nichushkin, but they're missing Drouin and Lehkonen too, and so those four, if you add those four guys back onto this roster, they're back to where they were a couple of years ago, feeling good.
Taves was out, right, too. So they're not just missing glue guys; they're missing top talent guys. So get those back. That Stanley Cup winning roster.
And just a quick give some props to Casey Middlestat, who's looked really great, especially the last week plus. Really looks like he's gelling with the team on the power play, just everywhere, especially facilitating. The guy is on fire right now, so it's exciting to watch him develop, especially since we gave up a key piece in that trade. So props to Middlestat for his elevated play.
Living up to the deal. He's living up to the deal. That's all you can ask.
For sure. Let's transition to the Nuggets, who are healthy and are 2-2. Their 2 wins came against the Toronto Raptors and the I almost said New Jersey, the Brooklyn Nets. That's how old I am. I almost said New Jersey Nets. Both overtime wins and both Nikola Jokic masterclasses in order to get over the finish line. It's been a little bit concerning. I would just kind of want to get your general takeaway about these first 4 games, your concern level, and just kind of your thoughts on the team and how it's constructed.
Yeah, I mean, right now, really, it's the bench again. I mean, it's that. And to be honest, defensively, they haven't been good. You know, we can talk about the shots they're missing and all that stuff. If you stop them, it doesn't matter, right? Like if you have really good defense, you can be a below average offensive team and win. You saw that in the first 2 games. You know, the Clippers had no business competing with the Denver Nuggets, just talent top to bottom, especially, Kawhi Leonard. They were able to get every shot that they wanted and move the ball freely enough to not really impede what the Nuggets did. And, it looked like that early on in that Toronto game. They had to come back. Same thing in Brooklyn. So you hope you can start getting there where it's, playing hard for 48 minutes. We'll see how that goes. But, I mean, Jokic is averaging 31, 12, and 9.
Yeah.
Not maybe if you've heard this before.
It's insane, man.
But I mean, you can see, like, guys, I'm not giving this one up. Like, let's go get wins. And he's done that the last 2 games for sure. Put your head down, go dominate. He did that against the Clippers too. He's the only reason why the Nuggets were in that game. So for that, though, I've been impressed with Christian Brown. I wanted to get your take on Brown, especially last night, being able to come in clutch with the dagger 3. Jamal played better the last game and a half. But I also thought, this last Westbrook game is what they needed. That's what Russ does: attack the rim, be aggressive. Shooting 10 free throws from your backup point guard. That's good. Yeah, like those are easy buckets, high percentage shots. Go attack the basket. Those are all my pluses. My minus, Saric, like that he played 5 minutes last night. It wasn't good in the entirety of it. It's not what you want, and hopefully maybe he's nicked up or something. But if that's what they paid for, which I was excited about, they're going to have to, like the Avalanche are going to have to go in and get, like, it's just not good enough for a team that wants to win championship. DeAndre Jordan shouldn't be playing more than 4 or 5 minutes in a game. And so that leaves a big gap. And getting Peyton Watson back for the first time is nice, but they really need what Saric was supposed to bring, and that's some size and shooting. And when you're not in the court, or when you're a walking turnstile on defense, it's really hard to be able to have you engage on the offensive end. So what are your thoughts? Are you, obviously if we did this pod on time last week, we would have been sad because they were 0-2. It wasn't looking good. And then, so since then they're 2-0, and Jokic looks like he's going to win his 4th MVP.
Yeah. Christian Brown's looked great with the starters, to be honest. I expected there to be I expected him to come out a little more unsure, unconfident. That's kind of how he played in the preseason. So I anticipated there being a little more growing pains with him in that starting unit, but he's been really great. He's been shooting the ball well. Relatively well from 3-point. I think he's at like 36%, which isn't great, but he's been hitting some timely shots. His defense has been really notable. His ability to cut away from the ball and just create some space for him, slashing towards the rim, has been really great. I've been impressed by him in kind of the flow. You can tell that, there were a lot of possessions against the Nets where, pretty much every defender had a foot in the paint. It makes it really difficult to score down low. They're going to have to find their 3-point shooting, or at least their perimeter shooting at some point. I mean, Jokic just shooting 55 from 3-point right now. I know you don't want to necessarily rely on him to be a 3-point shooter, but in decent volume, he's making them.
Yeah, I mean, Christian Brown right now is at the last game, right? Is 2 for 3.
Yeah,
and I think if you're able to get, it's hard to expect someone to hit 66% of their threes. But the fact that he got 6 free throw attempts means he was attacking the basket. So his athleticism, if you're able to make those, especially the spot up, the kick and drive and kick, if he's able to consistently do that, I mean, he's going to be a guy that will be averaging 18, 19 points a game by just getting to the basket and then being able to hit those threes. I didn't think there would be a issue in the lineup. The starters, I think his statistics to Caldwell Pope, like in efficacy and efficiency with the starting unit, was better, but that reduced your best player off the bench, which has been the Denver Nuggets Achilles heel. What was your thought on Russ? What do you think was different from the Nets versus, to be honest, the previous 3 games?
Yeah, Russ is difficult for me to kind of encapsulate, just because I think that he does throughout a game. He has some moments where you're pumped and some moments where you're like, what are you doing? And it's just kind of never a consistent. You don't really get a consistent Russell Westbrook domination game. It's a very up and down. You got to take the bad with the good, and vice versa. And so, do I think he's been an improvement to what we've had as far as backup ball handlers? 100%. He's been better. He brings a level of energy, brings a level of effort that I think is good for the young guys to see. I think he is a leader in the locker room. I think he's a leader on the floor when he's out there, especially with that second group. And he doesn't seem to have any issues with deferring to Jokic when he's playing with that first unit, which is nice. I didn't necessarily think that he would, but it's good to kind of see that that chemistry starting to develop a little bit, that trust starting to develop a little bit. Westbrook's a guy who sometimes will just try and do it all by himself, and I haven't seen as much of that with the starting unit. Bench, yeah, he can get downhill and he makes some bad choices at times, but overall, I think he's been an upgrade for the bench. Just another little highlight, something to keep note of. Aaron Gordon shooting 40% from 3-point right now, which I don't think that's necessarily sustainable for him, but it was something that he focused on in the offseason. Is something that he looks confident in right now, when a lot of other guys don't. Michael Porter Jr. is shooting 29%, 29.5% from 3-point, and he's your volume 3-point shooter on this team, if there is one. So for Aaron Gordon to step up and knock down some timely 3-point shots in both games was really big. And Christian Brown, even if he's not going to be shooting at volume, if he's hitting, 2 of 4, 2 of 5 3-pointers a night, it's enough to keep the defense a little bit honest and not play off of him too much. They'll continue to kind of test that throughout the season. We'll see how he adapts, and we'll see if he gets to be kind of a more consistent volume 3-point shooter. And I think that's just a narrative we're going to have to watch for the team completely. The Nets took over 50 3-point shots, and the Nuggets took, I don't remember the exact number, but somewhere between 20 and 25, I think, or 25 and 30. And so, are you going to have enough with how the league is trending, with how the Celtics have been playing, with putting up just enormous amounts of 3-point shots and making a good percentage of them? Are you going to be able to play that your style of basketball and not have to adjust to kind of that 3-point shooting game?
Which I think they've had to do. I think that the league was letting guys so far play tougher. I mean, and that's why one reason why I think Saric hasn't played well is he's getting out physicaled. And you've seen the last 2 games. All right, then, they had 30 plus free throws against the Nets. And I think close to against Toronto, which this isn't a team that usually gets. I think they were last in the NBA last year in free throws by a pretty good margin. So adapting to guys, I'm not going to let you get through scot-free off picks, and you got to be able to get through them, embrace contact at the basket, play through it and make a bucket or two, because they can do it, right? I mean, you have the best passing big man. You should be cutting all day. And, you got Russell Westbrook, who is a human freight train. And so if you can have those two, especially, and then hopefully a healthy Jamal Murray, who is a creator off his own dribble. So it looks like they're adapting. I think it will be interesting to see if it continues. And if the NBA continues to play it the way it is, how the NBA is and how the officials do stuff. So
it's I mean, that piece is definitely a night to night kind of thing right now. There were over 70 free throws shot in the last game between the Nets and the Nuggets, and that's not really indicative of a let them play through contact kind of shift. So I think there's definitely some it's going to be inconsistent for a while, and it may end up just kind of falling somewhere in the middle as opposed to that physical stance that they were taking in the preseason. But we'll see. And I think, it benefits the Nuggets if they're going to continue to get to the foul line. I mean,
Yep.
those are free points that you don't have to find ways to create offense, or you don't have to find ways to create that volume 3-point shooting. Keeps you in games. Kept him in the game last night. So it'll be interesting to see how they adapt. We need more from Jamal. Jamal's shooting 37% from the field. Not good enough right now. MPJ he's not shooting from distance very well. A little bit better around the rim, but still gets bullied a little bit. Defense is where they're going to have to really step up. So a lot of things to like so far, but there's some legitimate concerns, and we'll see if some guys don't elevate their game, if we'll be talking about a potential trade coming up around Christmas or the trade deadline. But certainly promising to get those 2 wins, kind of get that monkey off your back of coming out real flat and looking, tired or old, or a combination of the both. And let's now we got to beat some quality teams coming up. I think we got Minnesota coming up this week.
Right.
Who we got next? I don't remember, but regardless, you got to.
And just put like 25 in the first last week or last game. So, get those out of the way. It's just like the Broncos, right? They played the Saints and the Panthers. The Nuggets just played the Saints and the Panthers, and so it's hopefully that got them in going the right direction, and they have to be able to. I hope Christian Brown, to me, is one of those. If he continues to elevate slowly, even this team will get it. Right? They need tough-minded guys who are willing to take and make a shot. I don't know if it's ever going to click for for Porter about the other things. He continues to look lost out there quite a bit. But again, we're 4 games in. So we panic with like kind of the football mentality of like how important every single game is. In basketball, it's not. You've seen how momentum can switch in a week. 0-2 looks dreadful. Drop the 2 at home, especially for a team that is tremendous at home, to 2-2. And the best player on your team is showing again why he's the best player in the world.
Yeah, I mean, and just we don't want to gloss over that. I mean, Jokic is putting up insane numbers right now. He's the reason that they've won these last 2 games. He's got to get some help. But I mean, I think going into preseason, he looked healthy. I was excited for how he looked in the preseason, even in limited minutes. His touch around the rim is elite. It's kind of back to where we had seen it prior to last year, at least the end of last year. So it'll be interesting to see. We have the Timberwolves coming up on Friday. That'll be a big game, and then we've got the Thunder next Wednesday. Those are 2 good barometers for how close are we to being back in that top tier, and how much work do we have to do, at least early on in the season. So things to look forward to, and then you get the Heat the next Friday too. So some good teams coming up. So Nuggets have a lot of work to do. I think that they're aware of it. I think that everyone kind of agrees that they're maybe a little bit underachieving at this point, but it's a long season. Let's see if some of those guys can up their game and take some of the strain off Jokic.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I anticipate that they will. Guys will play better as they continue. Yeah. No one another. Peyton Watson being back is huge. It just again adds another depth piece that is sorely needed, and someone will take the opportunity, and I think CB has started, and hopefully Strother can continue after a nice game. If you're at least like 8 deep, 9 deep, and you feel good about that, I think the Nuggets will be in a good spot. Really, it's just we need a big man that's going to be able to contribute, and hopefully Saric is that dude.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not holding my breath on Saric just because he just hasn't looked very good with that unit, and I think that if you wanted to utilize him, you'd play through him a little bit more. But with Russ being your primary ball handler, I'm not sure how much that's going to happen. So we'll see. But let's transition. Let's talk about the Denver Broncos. We missed the last 2 weeks, so we've got we won't go into depth about the last 2 weeks, but 2 good wins for this Broncos team, which is very encouraging. The Broncos are now 5-3, beating teams that they should beat. Most recently, Carolina 28-14, kind of a garbage time touchdown at the end of that game for Carolina, and a really dominant, again, defensive performance. But Bo Nix's best game as a pro so far. I think a lot of promising things there, even if it is the Carolina defense.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, right, you play who's on your schedule, and you can say that that you're not playing against a team of equal caliber. Yes, 100%. But you also can acknowledge that Bo Nix looked great. I mean, both things can be true. You have to take into account who you're playing against. But the way that he was getting rid of the ball and moving through reads and being strong in the pocket. If you ever get to watch, Tim Jacobs break down just about, setting that back leg and driving into the throw. He hadn't been doing that, and that was it. He got to the top of his drop, planted, put the ball where it needed to go, and then had some really good plays where he was able to manipulate and go through his progressions. And then that ball to Troutman, which on National Tight End Day, one-handed catch, absolutely phenomenal. But that ball was a dime. That ball was a dime, and he did so by being able to look off the safety to the right and then rip it back towards the middle of the field on a dime. And that, to me, is you can see him start to get it. Like, oh, there we go. Right, that's the guy that we saw in preseason. That's the guy that we saw in practice. Starting to look like that guy. Plus, you add guy's going to get you 40 yards rushing a game, and isn't afraid to get you a couple more with the shoulder. Probably still on that a little bit. But you got to be excited. You got to be excited about where we're at. And this team really looks like they're starting to find an identity, more committed to the run. I think better executing. McGlinchey came back and has looked pretty good since his return, which is nice. You never know, right? Palczewski was looking pretty good, man. Like, I don't know if I want him back. And then, for him to kind of prove us wrong a little bit. He right now, per PFF, is the 17th best tackle in the NFL, which pretty solid for including it takes all. Yep, and Garrett Bowles right now is the 12th. So both have some significantly positive grades. Miners has gotten back to his normal self. He's 12th among guards. Ben Powers has gotten back to the guy that I saw in Baltimore is at 21st. And I thought Alex Forsyth has actually played better than Wattenberg, and so that has been, to me, something to note. I don't think that he's been overly tremendous, but has given them some competent play at center. And when you're able to do that, you're able to run at a better, more efficient, more effective clip. And Bo is able to trust that he's going to have time to be able to make the throw so he doesn't get happy feet, which, if you're a cartoon, is great. Quarterback, not great.
Right. I want to kind of bounce it off of you because it seems like the Broncos are in a unique position. They've got two tough teams coming up. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think that they'll probably be 5-5 after the next two.
Yep, it's likely.
If you are the Broncos, and I kind of see a little bit of both in the news and media and on Twitter, there's a group that seems to want to be more buyers at this time to improve the team as it is. And there's some people that say we need to look to sell some of these pieces that will free up some salary space, or that just have underachieved. I've heard Javonte Williams' name thrown out there. I've seen Josh Reynolds and Cortland Sutton's names thrown out there. Where are you as far as where the Broncos are today and the outlook kind of moving beyond throughout this season and then beyond this season?
Wait, one more time. First one is what?
Yeah. So just your feelings of where they are today. Is this a legitimate team? Is this a playoff potential team? Or are they playing a little bit above their heads, I guess, is the question. And then just kind of following that, as far as the trade rumors or perceived trade rumors are being put out there, is that something?
Yeah.
Would you be more of a buyer for this team as it is today, or more of a seller for teams moving forward?
That's good. I think I would be both. And that's kind of a cop-out answer, but I'll at least give a reason why. You can tell me whether or not it sounds good. Okay. I think you need to be aggressive in looking for pieces, one, that are within the timeline or dirt cheap. So Deontay Johnson essentially went for a pack of nickels and some Kool-Aid packets.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you can get a guy like that can elevate a room, awesome. Especially to help the development of your young quarterback, also awesome. And so I think you should be aggressive. This is a fan base that hasn't won at a positive clip since 2016. Hasn't been to the playoffs since Super Bowl, obviously, and since 2015 Super Bowl year. So I think you have to capitalize on that for your fan base, So I would say that out first. So the both part comes in is you have assets that you're not. Baron Browning is a good player.
Yeah.
Guy's not getting any run. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. I think we have seen how this is going to go, right? Jonathan Cooper looks like the mainstay. Baron Browning looks like that. It was nice to have you. You're a good additional third rusher. Health-wise, moving a guy like that for picks doesn't hurt, I think, the opportunity for you to consistently compete. So,
sure.
So I think looking at it from both lenses, I think you can do that to give younger guys snaps, etc. But you can't sell off a major piece, right? You can't right now trade Cortland Sutton for anything less, in my opinion, for a 1. Because if you're going to pull out a guy who really anchors a group for draft capital, it better be like we can't turn it down, guys. Like the package was so good. If any of you were up, right? Like that's the take that you need to be able to have. So I think they should capitalize on it. Right now they're the 5 seed, and the likelihood though that they're going to get in the top 4 is small. Because you have to catch Kansas City, and as much as I would love it, that it'll happen. Yeah. So you are in the playoff picture, and to be honest, if you play well, you're going to be in the playoffs because there's so many teams that right now that are in sell mode. I think taking advantage of that to give your team a better chance to be able to end that drought. So I want them to be buyers. I'm okay if they sell off a piece of the puzzle that isn't in the long-term plan.
Okay. I think that's fair. And I think that that's a good perspective to take, or a good position to take. And I would be fine if they ended up making some of those moves. I think that with the Russell Wilson salary hit, it is tough right now to kind of maneuver. I think if you have an opportunity to potentially dump some, as long as you're not hurting the overall impact of the team, then I say go for it. Obviously, I don't want them to necessarily trade like Sutton, guys that'll be key pieces, like you said, for Bo Nix's development, at least in the short term. But if they like you said, if they're getting loose a few guys that may not have a spot long term on this roster, then you got to take advantage of that. Let's talk about the matchup against the Ravens, and just kind of your feelings and thoughts about how the Broncos match up against the Ravens. Ravens are obviously a talented team, known generally for their defense. They have the same record as the Broncos, 5-3, but their defense has been a little bit suspect. I think people would say that the strength of this team is with the offense and the running game, which is pretty common for those John Harbaugh teams. How do you feel about this Ravens team? Do you think, what are the Broncos' chances? And how do they match up? Oh, you're muted.
So what happens, I had to plug my computer in because it was going to die. And doing so, I unplugged my mic for a second, apparently. So anyway, we'll start on offense first. Like, what do they got to do to be able to compete? Right now, Baltimore, I think, has the top rush defense. It's really hard to gain traction on the road. They've also been playing ahead a ton. So chicken or the egg, right? Teams maybe are playing catch up. Both teams are 5-1 over the last 6 games. So they really are kind of getting here. I think when you have Lamar and Derrick Henry, etc., they're just more marketable players. They also haven't been beating a ton of teams that are quality pelts on the wall. And so I think offensively, you have to be able to run the ball at least to an effective clip that you can stick with it through the game for the play action pass, and give them a taste of their own medicine. Right, Lamar Jackson, one of the top 3 running quarterbacks in the history of football, probably number 2 behind Mike Vick, in my opinion, maybe even better with how he does some stuff. But Bo Nix is a really good athlete, so utilizing that to add as an extension of the run, keep drives alive, make them commit an extra player to the account for the quarterback, so you can dictate some more terms in the passing game. So offensively, they want to run the ball. they haven't been able to, like, the last couple of games have been good, but being a team that can run effectively to support the pass, I think, is the route that this team will eventually kind of get to. And Baltimore's pass defense is atrocious. You saw last week Jameis Winston just, eating those dubs, throwing dimes with leftover crab cakes and laundry detergent packets again for receivers. So if he can, why not Bo? Right? Like, if the last game's gonna travel, I think we'll get to see a pretty good offense, and they'll need to score points regardless of how good our offense is. The defense is going to give up some points. For how good the defense is, they're going to give up some points. So the Broncos have to be able to plan on getting into the low 20s to give this team a shot at winning. And so on offense, I think that they're going to have to pass first to open up the run. And I think the last few games have really been, pushing Bo to be more comfortable as a passer in the pocket, etc. So I think offensively, they're going to be able to get some traction. And if they can score first with a team that's reeling a little bit, I really wish they lost last week so that they would look over the Broncos. But
I know
if they can strike first, maybe that sideline looks like, oh my God, like, what are we doing? Right? We just lost to Jameis and the Browns, who are awful. Now this team comes in, punches on the mouth, scores a touchdown. I think if they're able to do that and play with the lead on offense, I think that they'll have a really good shot at beating a upper echelon team, in my opinion. What do you think offensively? What would you highlight, or who do you think will be kind of a key player in this matchup on Sunday?
It's funny. It's been such a committee, on offense, especially over the last few weeks. Like the emergence of Troutman last week was just like, where did this come from? I was pleasantly surprised, but it was just one of those things I don't know that you can kind of count on beyond this week or last week. I think it's really going to depend on the offensive line and kind of how the offensive line plays. If they're able to keep give Bo a clean pocket, if they're able to open running lanes for the offense and allow them opportunities to get into the red zone and score, this team will have a chance. And if they're not able to take some of that pressure off of Bo from the pass rush, or if they're not able to establish a running game, then it's going to be really difficult. This team is this Ravens team, the lowest they've scored this season is 20 points against the Chiefs in week 1. Otherwise it's 23, 28, 35, 41, 30, 41. It's a high caliber offense. And so you've really got to capitalize in the red zone. So you've got to look for your sure-handed targets. I think you can probably find Cortland in the end zone. Maybe give him a jump ball or two, or a fade in the corner of the end zone that he's come down with a number of times. But you're going to have to be creative, and it's going to be, I think this is as much a coaching matchup as it is a player matchup. It's going to be two elite NFL level coaches kind of going at it, and it's going to be your offensive, creative, offensive minded coach in Sean Payton versus kind of your old school, run first and put pressure on the quarterback kind of coach in Harbaugh. And so it'll be fun. It'll be a fun matchup. I don't know that I could think of one player that really kind of stands out as like an X factor. But it's going to have to be a team victory. If you want a victory, it's got to be as a team.
To me, I think the linebackers, this is what I think will be super important because of the ability to be able to spy and mirror Lamar, but also stopping Derrick Henry before he gets going. If that guy gets to the second level, it's a wrap. Like, he's just a freak. So if Justin Strnad can continue to make some quality plays, I think had a couple of a couple of errors on Sunday.
Sure.
But then, on fourth down comes back with a big stop. And so if him and Cody Barton, who continue to gel and play good football, they got to be able to match up with the tight ends, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews. Those are good players. And you got that poison, you got to be able to contain Lamar a little bit, and you got to be able to slow down Derrick Henry. And I think those two guys on defense will be the most important, in my opinion. I think the Broncos match up really well in the secondary. On offense, I think Bo has to play well. There's going to be pressure, and so what? You're in the league. Let's go. You've been able to build on that momentum. Now you got to go make some plays, and I think if Bo plays well, and Cody Barton and Justin Sternad and Quan Alexander when he plays, those four guys play really good, like really, really good football, I think the Broncos win.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think, I think regardless of the outcome of this game and even next game against the Chiefs, if Bo Nix looks good, I think I'm on board with Bo Nix as the franchise quarterback. Like, these are your elite level competition. Even if you lose, if you're putting up points and finding the end zone, whether that be a combination of passing and running for him specifically, this is the kind of the test. This is the test in the middle of the season that's going to show what the Broncos are made of. And so even if you lose, if they're close competitive games, there's a lot to look forward to with this team moving forward. Chances are, we may lose Vance Joseph if someone wants to bring him on or offer him a head coaching job. So we'll see what that looks like moving forward. But this is a team that's got talent. That we liked the personnel for a long time. For some reason, it never clicked with the other coaching staffs for one reason or another, or a combination of things. Yeah. But this is an exciting time to be a Broncos fan, and this is a good test for your young quarterback. Like, if you're gonna find out what he's made of these next two games, even three games, you got the Falcons following the Chiefs, and that's a high flying offense. This is going to be a good time to test your young guys and your franchise quarterback. So I'm excited, regardless of the outcomes. Unless we get blown out, then obviously I'll be sad about that. Yeah. But excited to at least put them to the test.
Losses against these two really good teams, or one game just absolutely annihilated, like embarrassed, but you squeak out the other game. Which one would you rather have?
I'd take a win. Yeah, for sure. I'd take a win.
And imagine if they do. And to be honest, as much as I want to beat Kansas City, feels good. It actually means more if they beat Baltimore.
Yeah.
Tiebreakers, probably not going to catch the Chiefs anyway. Get your tiebreakers with wildcard teams. So if there isn't motivation to go get this, hopefully there's added. But they've been wanting this, right? We've all been wanting this. You're playing meaningful games into November. And right now they are, and they have a chance to show the world, because the whole world cares, that they match up with NFL Elite. It gives you a good idea about what you're going to need to be able to adjust before playoff time. If you need to make a move this week, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think if they can go and split these two, I'm chalking it in for they're going to the playoffs, and we're going to fly to whatever city that they're going to play in first. So, yeah, I think they match up real well. I really do. Edge goes to Baltimore because they have a better player at quarterback. But to be honest, outside of that, like you said, it's really going to be game plan and coaching and execution, right? So those big things. This is a game that Sean Payton needs to outcoach. He's got to outcoach John Harbaugh and his staff, which is hard to do. That's a really, really good group over there. That said, Sean Payton knows a thing or two, and he'll tell you. So if he coaches well, like you said, that was kind of your key. If Bo plays the way that he did even-ish on last Sunday, and the middle linebacker is able to, to have a positive day. I wouldn't say an elite day, all that stuff, but if we're able to blink and they got done on Sunday and said, hey, you know what? I think that the linebackers held their own. They did a good job. I think the Broncos win.
Hey, and this is a chance for us to, you said in front of the whole world, and it's kind of true. We get the top CBS announcing crew. Yeah, we get Nance and Romo.
Yeah.
And Tracy Wolfson. So it'll be an opportunity for I think everyone's been kind of seeing the Broncos, paying attention, but maybe are not aware of how good this defense has been specifically and how much Bo's shown some growth. So it'll be an opportunity for them, regardless of the outcome, to kind of showcase who they are and what they have on this roster. And I think that, guys will get up. Guys will be excited for this game. Guys will be pumped to have that opportunity to kind of show, hey, we're still. I looked at I think it was maybe the Athletics power rankings for the NFL. We're still in the bottom half of the power rankings at 5-3, and so I think people will see that, and I think the Broncos will see that, and maybe they'll start playing with that chip on their shoulder, and we go into again with the Ravens or again with Kansas City and really put it on them. It's a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm for the first time in a long time, I'm optimistic that we can get one of these games.
Yeah, me too. And to be honest, I'm expecting it.
Yeah,
I'm expecting them to get a win. I think losing both games to me is they can come back, but they don't. They shouldn't.
Yeah, they should certainly win at least one of these games.
Yeah. Score prediction? What do you got?
Yeah, I don't know that they get this one as much as I'd like it. I actually kind of like their chances against Kansas City. We'll talk about that next week, of course. But I will predict this as a 27-21 loss. I think we'll get into the end zone. I think Bo will look good. I think the defense will look good. But at the end of the day, I think, Lamar is going to be able to break that pocket and create. And we'll see how our linebackers and safeties stack up and are able to contain. But it's a tough ask of anyone. So unfortunately, I'm predicting a loss, but I'd love. Yeah. I don't think that they're out of it. I don't think that there's no shot. I think that there's a chance that they could pull this one out. Yeah,
absolutely. So just to be able to even it out, I think the Broncos win. I think they win 20. I think they actually win the other way. I think it's 27-21.
Okay.
I think that the offense is for real, and I think this is the game that they're going to be able to show. I do agree with you, though. I think they're a better matchup for the Chiefs. I think that's accurate. But this team's human. They're 5-3. It's not like they're 7-0, which the Chiefs are, right? So 3 teams have given you a blueprint on how to beat them. And there was a win in there that they could have lost for sure. Vance Joseph's defense versus Vic's defense. Vance is going to come after him. Lamar will probably make a big play or two for sure. He's going to do that as elite. But he's also going to get hit. And the last time they played here, they didn't hit him, right? And it was the shell over the top, those kind of things. I think this year, it will either be the defense plays a really dang good game and Lamar's hurt a little bit, a little sore from that, or or he's clean and the Broncos got whooped. And so I like our chances. I think defensively we'll give them something they haven't seen in a little bit, and I think they'll win. So like you said, in the end we're taking a swing at it, but we feel really good about their chances and excited for, even though it's an 11 a.m. start, they're 2-0 on that East Coast early start time, so no more excuses. Let's go get the job done, boys.
Let's get it.
Winners now in the state. See you raise the game. Broncos, you got to keep it up.
Yep, for sure. All right, everyone. We appreciate your time today. We hopefully we got to everything we wanted to talk. You guys wanted to hear us talk about. If not, let us know. Reach out on social media, on X. We appreciate you guys being here, and we will be back next week, barring some unforeseen circumstance. So we'll be keeping an eye on all these teams as they go through their gauntlet of games.
Yep.
Again, Nuggets got a big game coming up Wednesday against the Timberwolves. Texas Tech for CU on Saturday. And then finishing up with the Broncos on Sunday versus the Ravens. So lots to talk about. But we'll be back next week. Thank you again. And if you need a sports prescription, make sure you ask a doctor.
I'll let your boy.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute. Work hard for the car, so that's why it's all tinted. Wait a minute. Had a real late night, woke up with my